Welcome everybody to the how-to series on COVID recovery from our 2020 year. Manningham Business Network is presenting this series of webinars to help businesses recover and recoup and kick off the new year. And to start the webinar series, we have Pauline Fyffe from the Park Orchards Learning Centre. She is the manager there, the operations manager, or the centre manager, I should say specifically. And Pauline is going to take us through on how to write a COVID-safe plan for your business. So part of the series is to, or the focus of the series is to enable businesses to have the tools for getting back into business and doing it safely and doing it in a way that is compliant. These webinars are brought to us in conjunction with the State Government of Victoria, and we're grateful for their assistance in getting this up and going. Pauline, I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'm going to put myself on mute, and I'll leave it with you to explain the COVID-safe plan for us all. Thank you.
Okay, hi everybody. Thank you for that lovely welcome, Peter. And yes, I'm Pauline, and I'm going to talk to you today about writing a COVID-safe plan for your business. Now, as I was explaining to Peter, this is the first webinar I have delivered ever, so I'm hoping it'll go really well. I hope you get all the information you need, and if you have any questions at the end, please email them through or put them in the chat box and we'll be able to answer them for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I've got some PowerPoint presentations ready for you, and starting off with how to write a COVID-safe plan. And I suppose the main thing with this is knowing your obligations on how to do this. So understanding your responsibility is critical. As an employer, you have an obligation to provide a safe working environment for your team. Any of your staff should be able to come into work feeling safe. As a business owner, you've an obligation to provide that safe environment for your customers, your clients, for tradespeople, for deliveries, anybody who's coming to your environment. You have a responsibility to provide a safe working environment, a safe workplace for anybody who's coming through the door. And having a COVID-safe plan will help you with that, because it gives you a really clear guideline on what you're doing, particularly in relation to COVID-19. Now, it's also mandatory that every Victorian business with on-site operations have a COVID-safe plan in place. Now, for you guys who are in Victoria with me, we've had a lot of changes over the last 12 months. And even over the last month, with snap lockdowns and things like that. So we need to be on our game, and we need to know what we're going to do at any level of lockdown or any level of opening. And your COVID-safe plan will give you that really clearly. The other benefit of having your COVID-safe plan is that you can, in fact, share that with your team and let people know what it is that you're doing. So preparing your plan. Now there's some obligations with the plan. There's some minimum requirements that are dictated by our state government in relation to that. And you will find all of those on the coronavirus.vic.gov.au website. But basically your plan needs to set out all of your processes around COVID. So processes that you have in relation to how you're going to record all staff and visitors who attend. What you're actually going to do to mitigate the risk of COVID-19 for not only your team, for yourself, and as I said earlier, for anybody who comes to your service, whether they're a customer, whether they're a tradesperson, whether they're a delivery person. You outline all of that. It will also have in your level of PPE, what is required, because different businesses have very specific roles and requirements around PPE, around gloves, around masks, that type of thing. You have to identify what you would do if there was a suspected case of COVID in your workplace or a confirmed place. case. You know, how are you going to ensure that you are still providing a safe workplace if these things happen? You need to keep your plan up to date. So you need to be vigilant around what's going on with state government and federal government directives, as well as what's going on in your own workplace, with staff being unwell, or with, you know, as I said, tradespeople coming in, what you're actually going to do about it. Now, with your plan, there are 5 main areas that you need to identify, and they are hygiene, cleaning, physical distancing, record keeping, and preparing your response in case there is an incident at your workplace. The other thing you do with preparing your plan is you need to choose a template. And again, there are templates on the state government website. There's templates on work cover, and all of the individual states have their own plan. Our government isn't telling us you must use their template, but you must use a template. So what I've got here, this is just a sample template, and this is actually taken from the COVIDSafe plan that I've written up for our organisation here at Park Orchards. And basically we have across the top what the guidance is, and this is coming from the directives, then actions that we need to consider, and then who is the relevant employer obligation. And in that space, what I've put is actually who within my team is responsible for ensuring that the actions are taking place. So with hygiene, you know, it's about having sanitizer stations for us, making sure there's enough soap, water, paper towels, all of those things that people can keep their hands clean. So that's what the main guidance is providing and promoting hand sanitising. We want to come in, one of the directives from World Health Organisation is keeping your hands clean will help stop the spread of the disease. Actions, where are we going to put the hand sanitizer? Is it going to be only at the front door? Is it going to be at the front counter? Is it going to be on everybody's desk? So these are things that you would consider within your own organisation. It's the actions to consider, you know, how are you going to dispose of the rubbish? Paper towel when people dry their hands. How are you going to ensure that you have adequate supplies? And how are you going to ensure that not only staff, but visitors, customers, participants to your centre know what to do as well. So then what I've got then in the relevant employer obligations is I've identified who is going to ensure that we have adequate supplies, that who is going to make sure the sanitizer is kept full, who's going to organise infection control training so that everybody on the team knows what is required, and who is going to ensure that the signs about how to sanitise your hands and those sort of reminders are printed and displayed. So I'm just going to go briefly through the 5 areas because they must be included in your COVIDSafe plan. So we talked about hand sanitising, but another thing with hygiene is ensuring airflow, making sure that you can, wherever possible, open windows, open doors. Now over summer, that's fine, easily done. Trying to keep the organisations warm in winter and having doors and windows open is not always ideal, but it is critical to keep the airflow. Another thing with hygiene is also perhaps requiring your staff or encouraging them to go outside on their morning tea breaks, their lunch breaks, and doing that for yourself as well, making sure you are getting fresh air and that organisational airflow is maintained. Hygiene includes PPE, so face coverings. You know, what's your rule going to be around that? Are you going to have disposable face coverings? Are you going to provide them? Are you going to expect your staff to wear, you know, their own permanent face coverings? And then in that obligation as an employer, it might be that you have a combination of both. It might be your directive is that your staff are to supply their own face masks, but you will have a supply on hand in case they forget. or in case their one gets wet or dirty. And again, it's about ensuring your staff know what the good hygiene practices are to slow the spread of the disease. Another hygiene practice is around replacing communal items with individual items. And with that, we're talking about mugs. You might have a coffee bar or a kitchenette where you've always supplied mugs and plates and cutlery and things for your team. Another great idea is to ensure that everybody brings their own mugs, cups, plates, brings their own food, brings their own thermos, brings in their water bottle, for example. Going along with hygiene, the next area is cleaning, and increasing environmental cleaning is critical. High-touch surfaces cleaned and disinfected regularly. Now, again, this is what you're going to do here will really depend on your own organisation. I know that people work in an office by themselves, but other people can have a team of 10, 20 or more staff. And your cleaning and your hygiene practices must be specific for your business. So when you're writing your plan, and if you choose one of the government-based templates, you'll see that there's some information in there that's just not relevant for your business. So it's critical that when you're writing your plan, that you make it specific for your business. You need to customise it for what you're going to do and what your team are going to do. So your high-touch surfaces, wiped down regularly. A really easy way to do that is just with sanitizer wipes or disinfecting spray and paper towel. Your light switches, your door handles, the front door, where people push on doors, that type of thing. And again, within your template, within your plan, you'll identify whose role it is to actually do that. You will need to determine who's going to do that. And it might be that your professional cleaners, your industrial cleaners are coming in every night instead of 3 or 4 times a week. And again, with cleaning, it's really important to make sure that your cleaning products, your disinfectant, your detergents, kill viruses. And again, most of it says that on the bottle. But a video here just to show you around cleaning. See if you can miss it. Here it is.
COVID-19 spreads through droplets produced when an infected person coughs or sneezes. People can get COVID-19 by touching a surface that has germs on it. Ensure your workplace is cleaned at least daily with detergent and water. Once a surface is clean, you can disinfect it. Prioritise cleaning surfaces that are frequently touched. If you have a case of COVID-19 at work, your workplace will need to be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected before people can return. For industry-specific guidance regarding COVID-19, head to safeworkaustralia.gov.au.
Okay, so we always like a little cartoon to teach us things. All right, the next thing that you'll have in your plan is about your physical distancing and how you're going to limit workplace attendance. One of the important things that most of us has realised is that we need to establish a way that our staff are able to continue to work from home. And as the employer, as the manager, it is your responsibility to ensure they're supported to do that and that they do have a safe space at home to work. That is something that you will identify in your plan. You will also need to establish, and again, this depends on the teams that you're working with, that staff are not working across multiple settings or sites. We had that circumstance with some of our yoga teachers who were teaching yoga for our organisation and other organisations. And basically what we had to do is speak to them and say, look, if you're working for us at this stage, unfortunately, we can't have you working in other organisations. Or if you're working for another organisation, let us know and we will engage somebody else to do the work here. This was one of the directives that came out early. But again, it's really important that you have that in your plan so that you know what you're going to do and know if you're using casual staff, where else they're working. How are you going to ensure that people don't turn up to work unwell? What is the screening process? For a while there, we, and still do, have thermometers here to do temperature checking of people when they arrive. If people are unwell, they're to stay at home. This is really important to get through to your staff. You don't want them there when they're unwell. And again, having systems in place where staff can work from home, ensure that if someone wakes up with a scratchy throat or a slight cold, they can still do their job, but the risk of infecting other people is diminished significantly. And then, you know, once they're well and once they've had their COVID tests, they can come back to work. And again, this is something that you will have in your safety plan. How do you ensure that staff aren't working too closely together? How do you protect your staff from customers? So things like, you know, installing screens, sneeze screens, that type of thing is something that you'll do, but it will also be articulated in the plan. And your floor markings, you know, in your plan, how are you going to do that? Where are you going to put the floor markings? Where are you going to get them? You know, at the moment, Manningham City Council has some fantastic floor stickers that you can get for free. You just contact them and put them on the ground. You space them the 1.5 metres apart, and it just gives people, and particularly your team, a visual cue. They're really great in spaces like your kitchens or staff rooms, just to remind people how important it is to maintain our physical distance. And training. You need to articulate in your plan the training that you're going to give your staff around physical distancing expectations. Okay, in your plan, you also need to articulate the record keeping you're going to do. And at the moment, you can do this paper-based or electronic. We've chosen to go with electronic. So we have a QR code that's on display in every room of our organisation. It's at the front door, it's at reception, and any participant or anybody who comes into our service and is going to be in here for more than 15 minutes must log in. We also have a paper-based backup. The benefit of the electronic tracking or tracing means that when we're doing our particular work, our courses and our classes, we can have one person per 2 square metres. If we're sticking with paper-based, we can only have one person per 4 square metres. So being mindful of those type of rules and regulations in relation to how you're keeping your records ensures that you are then getting the best out of your business as well. The electronic QR codes are free from Services Victoria, very easy to download, to print off and display. This information is critical in case there is somebody who attends your business who has COVID-19 or is a close contact of someone who has COVID-19. And without this close record keeping, our potential for another outbreak is huge. Again, it's also really important that your staff know what your policies and procedures are around record keeping. And again, this all goes into your plan. And the last thing I'm going to talk about that you need in your plan is what your response is going to be to a suspected or a confirmed case. And you need to think about that in advance. You know, what would the impact be on your organisation, on your business, if you have to close down for a period of time? What's the process that you have in place for notifying your team, for notifying your customers, for notifying your participants if there's an outbreak? Who's going to contact DHHS and WorkSafe Victoria about the outbreak? You know, that has to be done as soon as possible. And you articulate that in your plan. Who's going to do that? What are you going to do if a work person is identified as being unwell? What are you going to do then? So all of these things must be articulated in your plan. Do you have a professional cleaning company who can come in and do a thorough clean in case there is an outbreak, in case somebody at your work has been identified as having COVID-19? Which company are you going to contact? Have that in your plan. Notice how you're going to notify, your network, perhaps, families, people who've been away from work, any of those sort of things, they all go in the plan. Everything that you think that will be required if there is a suspected or confirmed case must go in the plan. And to be honest, on the DHHS website, it prompts you with these points. And also, as a final thing, how are you going to reopen safely, and how are you going to reassure your workers that your organisation is safe and ready to go again? So, thanks everybody for listening. I hope that I've covered enough in that presentation to show you how to create your own COVIDSafe plan, where you can access resources and what needs to be covered in your plan so that you meet the obligations you have to your participants, to your staff, and to everybody who comes to your organisation.
Pauline, thank you very much. That has been really thorough, and it's covered every area that we really need to know on getting our businesses back. And I really appreciate you taking the time today to be able to share your knowledge and to be able to enable the businesses of Manningham to function safely and securely in 2021. So really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. And anyone who was watching, please get in touch. If you have any questions, all the contact details are there. This will be put as a recording up on the Manningham Business Network website. You can go back and watch it anytime you like. The slides will be there for you to download as well. So all the resources and all the information Pauline has shared is there freely available for you, and all the contact details as well. So if you have questions, somebody from our team will follow you up in the next day or so as well, just to see if you have any questions. And then if anything comes up, please get in touch. You've got all the contact details there for either Pauline or the Manningham Business Network. And until next time, thank you, Pauline, and thank you everybody for being online. Really appreciate it.